The space station floated like a giant silver ring in the dark emptiness of space. It was the heart of the Galactic Alliance, where species from across the stars came to make peace, trade knowledge, and prevent wars. Humans were the newest members, still seen as a young and untested race. Most aliens looked down on them, thinking of Earth as weak and primitive. Ryan stood near the wide glass window of the docking bay, staring nervously at the ships arriving. He had never seen so many alien vessels in one place before. Some were shaped like spinning crystals, others like sharp wings or glowing spheres. This was his first mission as a translator for the Alliance, and his stomach twisted with worry. He had studied alien languages for years, but this was different. This was real. One mistake could offend a powerful species and cause trouble for humanity. Ryan tightened the strap of his translation device and whispered to himself, "Just stay calm, speak clearly, and don't embarrass Earth." A deep hum filled the air as another ship docked. The doors opened, and a group of tall, graceful beings stepped out. They moved like flowing water, their long limbs covered in smooth, pale skin that shimmered under the lights. Their eyes were bright and almost glowing, like tiny stars. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. These were the Viuri, one of the oldest and most respected species in the Alliance. They were known for their wisdom and unmatched battle skills. Most humans had only seen them in recordings. At the center of the group was a female Viuri wearing a deep blue robe with silver markings. She carried herself with quiet strength, her head held high. Even among her kind, she seemed different, like a leader. The other diplomats and workers bowed slightly as she approached. Ryan felt his heart pound. His role was simple: greet the Viuri and assist with translation during their stay. But when he looked at her, all his careful plans vanished. She stopped right in front of him. Her gaze was sharp but calm, and for a moment, it felt like she was looking straight through him. "My name is Ara," she said in a melodic voice. Though she spoke in her own language, Ryan's device translated it into his ear instantly. Ryan opened his mouth to respond, but the words caught. His mind screamed at him to stay professional. Say your name, welcome her, and nothing more. But the sight of her, the way the light reflected off her skin, the grace in her movements was overwhelming. Before he could stop himself, the thought burst out of his mouth. "You're beautiful." The room fell silent. The hum of machines, the footsteps of passing workers, everything seemed to freeze. Even the air felt heavy. Ryan's eyes widened in horror. His face turned hot as embarrassment flooded through him. He had not meant to say it out loud. His brain scrambled to fix the mistake. I mean welcome to the station," he stammered, almost choking on his words. Several alien diplomats exchanged surprised glances. A human complimenting a Viuri was unheard of. The Viuri were warriors and thinkers, not objects of admiration. To them, beauty was not something often spoken about. Ara tilted her head slightly, studying him. Her expression was unreadable, and that scared Ryan even more. Would she take his words as an insult? Would he ruin humanity's reputation on his very first day? Finally, she spoke, her voice soft but clear. "Beautiful," she repeated, as if testing the word. Then she asked, "Is this a greeting among your people?" Ryan swallowed hard. "No, it's a compliment. In my culture, when someone says that, it means they admire something about another person." His voice shook as he tried to explain. "I didn't mean any disrespect." Ara's glowing eyes narrowed slightly, then softened. Slowly, she gave a small nod. "I see," she said. Among my people, we rarely use such words. For you to speak it without fear, it is bold. Ryan wished the floor would open and swallow him whole. He wasn't bold. He was terrified. It was an accident, he muttered, though the translation device carried his words clearly to her. Era's lips curved into a faint smile. Accidents can reveal truth, she replied. The other Viori behind her shifted, whispering among themselves. Ryan caught a few alien diplomats glancing his way with curiosity, maybe even suspicion. The station officer in charge quickly stepped forward, trying to return order. Ambassador Era, this human will be your assigned translator, he said, gesturing to Ryan. He will assist you during all meetings and events. Era's eyes stayed on Ryan. For a moment, he felt pinned in place, like a small bird under the gaze of a hawk. Then she gave a single nod. Very well. Ryan exhaled, realizing he had been holding his breath. His cheeks still burned as he led Era and her group down the hall. The corridor was filled with banners and glowing signs, representing different worlds. Ryan focused on walking straight, terrified of saying something foolish again. As they walked, he heard Era's voice behind him, quiet yet sharp. Human words are strange, she said, almost to herself. But they have weight. Ryan's heart thudded painfully. What did she mean by that? He didn't dare ask. That night, alone in his small quarters, Ryan sat on his bunk and buried his face in his hands. You're beautiful, he groaned, repeating the words he had blurted out. His mission was supposed to be simple. Now, on the very first day, he had said something no human had dared to say to a Viori leader. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but one thing was certain. Era would not forget his words, and neither would he. The next morning, Ryan woke up with a knot in his stomach. His first thought was of the moment he had called Era beautiful. He sat on his bunk, staring at the ceiling, replaying the scene in his head. The look in her glowing eyes haunted him. What if I offended her, he muttered to himself. What if she reports me, and I get sent back to Earth in disgrace? He dressed quickly, putting on his translator uniform and checking his device twice to make sure it was working. Today, he had to guide Era through her first series of meetings with other ambassadors. He told himself over and over to stay professional and keep his words simple. When he reached the conference hall, he saw Era standing with her group. The other Viori were silent, their tall forms still and imposing. Era's robe shimmered under the soft white lights, the silver markings on it glowing faintly. She turned as he approached, her expression calm but unreadable. Ryan bowed slightly. Good morning, Ambassador Era, he said carefully. Good morning, Translator Ryan, she replied, her voice smooth and steady. The sound of his name in her melodic language almost made his heart skip. He tried not to show his nerves and motioned toward the hall. Shall we begin? As they walked, Ryan noticed that the other ambassadors seemed to be watching them more closely than usual. He guessed rumors had already spread about what he had said yesterday. His face warmed, and he kept his gaze forward, pretending not to notice. Inside the meeting chamber, representatives from several species were gathered around a round table. They discussed trade routes, security patrols, and disputes between colonies. Ryan translated Era's words carefully, making sure every sentence was accurate. Era spoke with a calm authority that demanded respect. She never raised her voice, but everyone listened when she talked. Ryan admired how she handled each issue, her sharp mind finding solutions no one else considered. During a short break, Era surprised him by speaking directly to him in a low voice. Yesterday, you used a word unfamiliar to me, she said. Beautiful. I have been thinking about it. Ryan's stomach dropped. Yes, about that, he stammered. I am so sorry if I offended you. It was a mistake. I didn't mean to speak without permission. Ara tilted her head, studying him. You fear offense. Yet you also fear the truth of your own words. Ryan blinked in confusion. What do you mean? Among my people, we value strength, honor, and skill, Ara explained. We do not often speak of appearances. The concept of beauty exists, but it is rarely given voice. When you called me beautiful, you did something uncommon. It showed courage. Courage. Ryan echoed, his cheeks burning. It was just an accident. I wasn't brave. I was nervous, and it slipped out. Ara's glowing eyes softened, and for the first time, a true smile touched her lips. Perhaps. But even an accident can reveal a person's heart. Your words were honest. Ryan's mouth went dry. He wanted to hide, but there was nowhere to run. I didn't mean to cause trouble, he whispered. There is no trouble, Ara said firmly. Instead, I am curious. I have studied many species, but humans are different. Your way of expressing emotion is unusual. I wish to learn more. Ryan was stunned. Instead of anger, she was interested. That was both a relief and a new source of nervousness. I can explain human customs to you, if you like, he offered quietly. Good, Ara replied. In return, I will teach you about my people. Understanding builds strength. The break ended, and they returned to the table. For the rest of the meeting, Ryan couldn't stop thinking about her words. She didn't seem upset with him. In fact, she seemed almost pleased. Later, as the day ended, Ara invited Ryan to walk with her through the observation deck. The deck was a wide open space with transparent walls showing the endless stars outside. Ships glided past, their lights glowing like fireflies. This place is beautiful, Ryan said without thinking, his voice soft. Ara looked at him with interest. Beautiful, she repeated, this time using the human word instead of her own language. I begin to understand its meaning. Ryan flushed. Yes, in my culture, it can describe a place, a moment, or even a person. Ara stopped walking and faced him. Then yesterday, when you said it to me, you were giving me a gift of meaning. Ryan froze, unsure how to respond. I guess so, he admitted. She studied him for a long moment, her eyes glowing brighter than the stars behind her. You are unlike others, Ryan. I will remember what you said. Before he could speak, a faint alarm sounded in the distance. Ara's calm expression hardened. Something is wrong, she said. We must return to the main hall. As they hurried back, Ryan's mind swirled. His simple, accidental compliment had started something he didn't fully understand. And now, with trouble brewing on the station, he had no idea how much more complicated things were about to become. The faint alarm faded by the time Ara and Ryan reached the main hall. Guards were already moving through the corridors, speaking quickly into their comm devices. Ara questioned one of them in her language, and the guard replied with a brief report. It was only a false warning, Ara explained to Ryan as they walked. A minor system error triggered the alarm. Ryan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. That's a relief. For a moment, I thought we were under attack. Ara gave a small nod. Your fear is understandable. Space stations can be vulnerable. But there is no danger for now. Her calm voice helped ease his nerves. As they continued, Ryan noticed how her presence seemed to steady everyone around her. Even the station workers straightened when she passed, as though her quiet strength gave them confidence. Over the next several days, Ryan spent more time with Era. Their schedule was filled with meetings between different species, and his job was to translate carefully so nothing was misunderstood. It was demanding work, but he began to enjoy it because of her. During breaks, they talked in quieter spaces, away from the crowded halls. Ryan taught her about simple human customs, like shaking hands to greet someone or smiling to show kindness. Era found these small gestures fascinating. Your people use many ways to show feelings without words, she said once, tilting her head thoughtfully. It is expressive. Among my kind, we rely on control. Too much expression is seen as weakness. Ryan smiled. Sometimes we can't hide what we feel, even if we want to. It's just who we are. Era considered this and gave a small, thoughtful smile of her own. Ryan realized how rare it was to see her like that. One evening, Era invited Ryan to a private section of the station garden. It was a place designed to make diplomats feel at home, filled with plants from many worlds. Strange flowers glowed softly in the dim light, and streams of water floated through the air in clear tubes. This reminds me of my home world, Era said, walking slowly among the plants. The Viuri live close to nature. We protect our forests and oceans with care. My people do not often share these memories with outsiders. Ryan was touched by her trust. It sounds amazing. Earth has beautiful places too, but we've made many mistakes. We are still learning how to protect our planet. Era glanced at him, her glowing eyes reflecting the light of the garden. You speak with honesty, even about your people's flaws. That is something I respect. They sat on a bench near a tree with crystal-like leaves. Ryan told her about the blue oceans of Earth and the way humans looked up at the stars, dreaming of exploring them. Era listened closely, asking questions about human history and art. In return, she shared stories of Viuri traditions, their long history of battles, and their values of honor and unity. Ryan realized how different their worlds were, yet how similar some of their hopes felt. As their friendship deepened, rumors began to spread among the other diplomats. Whispers filled the corridors. Some species thought Era was simply gathering information by befriending a human. Others believed Ryan was trying to gain influence through her. One afternoon, during a crowded meeting, a reptilian ambassador made a sharp remark. It is unusual to see a Viuri leader spending so much time with a human, he hissed. Perhaps her judgment is clouded. Ryan froze, unsure how to respond, but Era spoke before he could. Her voice was calm yet strong. My judgment is clear, she said. Translator Ryan has proven himself skilled and loyal. His insight strengthens these discussions, not weakens them. The room fell silent. The reptilian ambassador lowered his head, clearly chastised. Ryan's chest tightened with gratitude. After the meeting, he walked beside her quietly. Thank you for defending me, he said softly. You did not need defending, Era replied. But I will not allow disrespect toward those who stand beside me. Her words filled Ryan with warmth. He realized she didn't just see him as a tool for translation. She truly valued his presence. That night, as he lay in his quarters, Ryan thought about how far they had come since their first meeting. At first, he had been terrified of her and her people. Now, he found himself looking forward to every conversation, every shared moment. Still, a shadow hung over their growing bond. The whispers and suspicious glances from others were increasing. Ryan knew that if their friendship was seen as a threat to the delicate balance of the alliance, trouble could come quickly. Unaware of the danger, Ara continued to meet with Ryan the next day, ready to plan for upcoming talks. But as they reviewed data on her tablet, they noticed something strange. A series of encrypted messages were hidden deep within the station's communication logs. Ara's expression grew serious. "These are not ordinary transmissions," she said, her voice low. "Someone is sending secret orders. This could mean sabotage." Ryan leaned closer, his pulse quickening. "Who would do that?" "I do not know," Ara admitted, her eyes narrowing. "But if these messages are real, the station may not be safe." For the first time, Ryan saw true worry on her face. Their peaceful routine had just been shattered, and he sensed that their bond was about to be tested in ways neither of them could imagine. Ara stared at the glowing symbols on her tablet, her calm expression replaced with sharp focus. The encrypted messages scrolled across the screen in strange patterns, some of them blinking red. Ryan leaned closer, feeling his heart pound. "Are you sure these are dangerous?" he asked quietly. Ara nodded, her voice low but firm. "These are not harmless signals. They are hidden under routine communications, designed to avoid detection. Whoever sent them knows the station's systems well." Ryan's mind raced. Could it be pirates or criminals? "Perhaps," Ara replied, her glowing eyes narrowing. "But the precision of these codes suggests something larger. A faction planning an attack, maybe even from inside the alliance itself." The idea made Ryan's skin crawl. This station was filled with ambassadors, leaders, and trade officials from dozens of worlds. If it fell into chaos, the entire alliance could break apart. Ara rose to her full height, her robe flowing like water. "We must report this to the Security Council at once." Ryan followed as she moved quickly through the corridors, his translator device catching up with her swift speech. They entered a secure chamber where several high-ranking Viore officials stood in discussion. When Ara explained what she had found, the others exchanged skeptical looks. One older Viore, his skin marked with deep silver lines of age, spoke sharply. "You accuse others of sabotage based on patterns only you have seen? This is dangerous talk, Ara. It could ignite distrust among our allies." Ryan stepped forward nervously. "She's right," he said. "I saw the messages too. They were hidden deliberately. Someone is planning something." The elder barely glanced at him. "You are a human, young and inexperienced. Your words carry little weight in these matters." Ryan bit his tongue, frustration building inside him. Ara, however, stayed calm. "Dismissing the warning will not make it disappear," she said. "If we do nothing, we risk being unprepared when danger strikes." But the council refused to take action without stronger proof. They ended the discussion quickly, leaving Ara and Ryan alone outside the chamber. "They will not move until it is too late," Ara said, her voice tight with anger. Ryan clenched his fists. "Then we'll get the proof ourselves. If we can find where those messages are coming from, they'll have to listen." Ara studied him for a moment. "That will be dangerous. Whoever sent those codes will not want to be discovered." "I know," Ryan said, his voice steady despite his fear. "But if this station is attacked, everyone here will be at risk. I can't just sit back and watch." Ara's expression softened slightly. "Your courage continues to surprise me, Ryan." Together, they began their investigation. Ara used her access as an ambassador to track the signal through the station's networks, while Ryan handled the translation of the technical data. The trail led them to the lower maintenance levels, far from the polished halls where diplomats gathered. The lower levels were dim and filled with the hum of machinery. Pipes ran along the walls, and the smell of heated metal filled the air. It felt like a completely different world beneath the station's shining surface. As they searched, Ryan's nerves grew sharper. "I don't like this place," he whispered. "It feels wrong." "That is because those who plan in shadows choose places like this," Ara replied quietly. They finally reached a locked door with strange markings etched into its frame. Ara studied them carefully. "This is not standard design. It is a symbol of a rogue faction that broke away from the Alliance long ago." Before Ryan could respond, the door slid open with a sharp hiss. Two armed figures stood inside, their faces hidden by masks. Ara moved with lightning speed, knocking one attacker back with a precise strike. The other raised a weapon, and Ryan, acting on instinct, grabbed a loose pipe from the ground and swung it hard. The attacker fell, stunned. Breathing hard, Ryan stared at the fallen figure. I actually hit him," he said, shocked. "You did well," Ara said, already scanning the room beyond. Inside the hidden chamber, they found computer equipment and storage crates. On one screen, a countdown timer glowed brightly. Ryan's stomach twisted when he saw the numbers. "It's a schedule," Ara said grimly. "They plan to strike in 3 days. Their target is the station." Ryan's throat went dry. 3 days. That's not enough time to warn everyone. "Then we must act quickly," Ara said, gathering data from the machines. "We will take this proof to the council. They cannot ignore it now." As they prepared to leave, Ryan stumbled, a sharp pain shooting through his leg. He looked down and saw a small burn mark on his uniform where a stray shot had grazed him during the fight. Ara knelt beside him, her usually calm face filled with concern. "You are injured." "It's not bad," Ryan said through gritted teeth. "I can still walk." She tore a strip from her robe and carefully wrapped it around his wound. "Your bravery is reckless, but it saved us," she said softly. Ryan met her glowing eyes and felt his face warm despite the pain. "I just didn't want you to face them alone." Ara's hands paused for a brief moment, then tightened the makeshift bandage. "You are more than a translator, Ryan. You have a warrior's heart." They returned to the upper levels, carrying the stolen data. But even as they hurried to the council chambers, Ara's mind was heavy with worry. If the rogue faction struck before the leaders were ready, no one on the station would be safe. And deep inside, Ryan knew this was only the beginning. Their bond had grown stronger through danger, but the storm ahead would test both of them in ways they had never imagined. Ara and Ryan rushed into the council chamber, their steps echoing through the tall hall. The alien leaders turned sharply, surprised to see them burst in. Ara held up the data tablet, her voice strong and commanding. "This is proof," she declared. "A rogue faction has infiltrated the station. They plan to strike in less than 3 days." The older Viuri leader who had dismissed her earlier frowned deeply. "You bring bold claims again, Ara. Are you certain of this?" Ryan stepped forward, breathing heavily from the run. "We saw their hideout with our own eyes. They had weapons, encrypted messages, and a countdown timer. If you don't act now, everyone here is in danger." The council members murmured among themselves. Some still looked doubtful, but others showed fear. Aero played the recordings they had stolen, showing the enemy's plans in clear detail. When the truth became undeniable, the elder Viore slammed his hand on the table. "Prepare the defenses," he ordered. "We will not allow this station to fall." Alarms sounded throughout the station as security teams mobilized. Ships in the docking bays were locked down, and protective shields began to rise around the station's outer ring. Aera took command of the defense strategy. Even among her own people, few could match her skill in leadership. She moved with calm precision, assigning squads and giving orders that crossed cultural boundaries. Some species resisted taking commands from a Viore, but her authority left little room for argument. Ryan worked beside her, his translator device buzzing constantly as he relayed her orders to species that spoke different languages. At first, many soldiers and diplomats ignored him, but as they saw how quickly he connected groups that had never worked together, they began to follow his lead. "You are holding this alliance together," Aera said to him during a brief moment of quiet. Ryan shook his head, sweat running down his brow. "I'm just talking. You're the one leading the fight." She placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Words are as powerful as weapons. Without you, my commands would be meaningless." Before Ryan could respond, the first attack came. The station shuddered as explosions rippled through its outer sections. Enemy ships appeared outside, emerging from cloaked positions. They fired on the shields with fierce precision. "Shields at 70%, a voice cried over the comm system. Aera's voice cut through the chaos. "Hold the line. Redirect power to the upper ring. All defense teams, engage enemy forces now." Ryan repeated her words to every group across the station, his voice steady even as fear clawed at him. The rogue faction didn't just attack from the outside. Inside the station, hidden agents revealed themselves, striking at key systems and security posts. Hallways filled with shouts, alarms, and flashes of light. Ryan and Aera moved toward the central command hub, fighting their way through the chaos. Aera's combat skill was breathtaking. With precise, fluid movements, she disabled attackers before they could strike. Ryan stayed close, using whatever tools he could find to defend them. At one point, a rogue fighter aimed a blaster at Aera's back. Without thinking, Ryan lunged forward and shoved her aside. The shot burned past where she had been standing, barely missing her. Aera caught her balance and turned sharply, taking down the attacker with one swift motion. When she looked back at Ryan, her glowing eyes were wide with shock. "You saved me," she said softly, almost disbelieving. Ryan's heart pounded. "I couldn't just watch you get hurt," he said breathlessly. For a brief moment, the battle noise seemed to fade. Then Aera gripped his arm firmly. "Stay close. We will survive this together." They reached the command hub just as enemy forces breached the lower levels. Aera gave rapid orders, her voice steady even as the walls trembled around them. Ryan used the station's main communication system to broadcast messages of unity, urging every species to fight side by side. His words carried across the entire station, inspiring courage. "This is not just Aera's battle," he said. "This is everyone's home, everyone's future. Stand together. Defend it." The effect was immediate. Groups that had been fighting separately began working as one. Defense lines held, and enemy forces were slowly pushed back. Outside, the station's ships launched a counterattack, driving away the enemy fleet. Inside, Aera personally led a strike team to capture the rogue leader. Ryan stayed behind, relaying her orders and keeping communication flowing. Hours later, the fighting finally ceased. The remaining enemy forces fled into deep space, leaving behind their damaged ships and failed plans. The station was battered but still standing. Ambassadors and soldiers gathered in the main hall, cheering for their victory. Aira stood at the center, her robe torn and her skin marked with faint burns from the battle. She raised her hand for silence. "Today, we did more than defend the station," she said, her voice carrying across the hall. "We proved that unity is strength. No matter our differences, we stood together and won." She turned to Ryan, who stood beside her, exhausted but unbroken. And this victory would not have been possible without the courage of one human who refused to give up. Ryan felt his face flush as hundreds of eyes turned toward him. He wanted to shrink back, but Aira's warm gaze steadied him. In that moment, he understood that their bond had grown beyond words. They had faced danger side by side, and together, they had saved countless lives. But deep down, Ryan knew this was not the end. The war might be over for now, yet his feelings for Aira were stronger than ever. And soon, he would have to face the truth about what she truly meant to him. The battle was over, but the space station felt strangely quiet. Damaged sections were being repaired, and patrol ships surrounded the area to prevent another surprise attack. Inside the central hall, workers cleaned debris while diplomats slowly returned to their duties. Ryan stood near one of the wide observation windows, gazing at the stars. His body ached from exhaustion, but his mind was too restless to rest. He could still hear the echoes of the battle, the shouts, the alarms, and the moment he had shoved Aira out of harm's way. Behind him, soft footsteps approached. He didn't need to turn to know it was her. "You should be resting," Aira said gently. Her voice was calm, but there was a warmth in it that had not been there before. Ryan turned to face her. She looked regal even with her robe torn and battle scars visible on her pale skin. "I couldn't sleep," he admitted. "I keep thinking about what almost happened. If you had been hurt because of me," his voice trailed off, heavy with emotion. Aira stepped closer, her glowing eyes studying him carefully. "You saved my life, Ryan. That is not something I will forget." Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," Aira said firmly. "Many would have hesitated. But you acted without thought for yourself. That is bravery." Her words made his heart pound. He looked down, trying to find the right words. For days, his feelings for her had been growing, but he had buried them beneath duty and fear. Now, after everything they had been through, he could no longer hide them. "Aira," he began softly, "there's something I need to tell you." Before he could speak further, the hall doors opened. Ambassadors and council members entered, gathering for a public ceremony to honor the victory. Aira gave Ryan a brief, unreadable glance, then moved to the center of the hall. The elder Viuri leader addressed the crowd first. "This station was saved by unity and courage. We owe our survival to those who stood at the front lines." He gestured toward Aira. "Ambassador Aira led us with wisdom and strength. Without her, we would have been lost." Applause filled the hall. Aira bowed slightly, then raised her hand for silence. "I share this honor with all who fought," she said, her voice clear and commanding. "But there is one among us whose actions went beyond duty. A human who proved that even the newest members of the Alliance can shape the fate of many." Ryan froze as she turned toward him. Hundreds of eyes followed her gaze. His pulse raced. Aira's tone softened as she continued, speaking directly to him. "Ryan, when we first met, you spoke a word that your people value deeply. Beautiful. At the time, I did not fully understand its meaning. But now I do. The crowd murmured in surprise. Ryan's face turned crimson. You saw beauty not only in form, but in courage, in truth, and in hope, Ara said. Your heart saw worth where others saw weakness. Today, before all gathered here, I return that word to you. Then, in her own language, she spoke a single Viari word that carried the same meaning. The translation device whispered the meaning into Ryan's ear, beautiful. Gasps echoed through the hall. Among the Viari, speaking such a word in public was an act of the highest respect. It was rarely said, even among their own kind. Ryan stood frozen, overwhelmed. He had expected her to thank him, maybe even to praise his work. But this was something far greater. His throat tightened as he stepped forward. Ara, I don't know what to say, he stammered. She gave a faint smile. Then say only what is true. The crowd waited, silent. Ryan's fear faded as he looked into her glowing eyes. When I first met you, I spoke without thinking, he said, his voice trembling. But now, I speak with all my heart. You are more than beautiful to me. You are someone I admire, someone who changed how I see the galaxy. I care for you, Ara. The hall filled with whispers. Many aliens seemed shocked, while others watched with curiosity. Ara stepped closer until she was only a breath away. Your words are a gift, she said softly, but everyone could hear her. Among my people, we do not easily share feelings. Yet you have given me courage to do so. She placed her hand lightly over his, a gesture of deep trust in Viari culture. I care for you as well, Ryan. The crowd erupted with mixed reactions, some clapping in approval, others whispering in disbelief. The elder Viari raised his voice. Let this moment mark a new chapter for the Alliance. Today, we see not just victory, but unity between our peoples. As the ceremony ended, Ara led Ryan to a quiet balcony overlooking the stars. The noise of the hall faded behind them. I was afraid to speak, Ara admitted. But when you risked everything for me, I understood what your words meant. You showed me the strength of the human heart. Ryan's cheeks warmed. And you showed me what true honor looks like. I never expected to feel this way about someone from another world, but now I can't imagine leaving your side. Ara's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. Then do not leave. Walk beside me, no matter what challenges come. Ryan nodded, his chest filled with hope. Whatever dangers lay ahead, they would face them together. Above them, the stars shone brighter than ever, as if witnessing the start of something new and unbreakable. The space station was alive with activity once more. Repairs had been made to the damaged sections, and patrols now moved with greater precision. Ambassadors and soldiers worked side by side, sharing resources and knowledge. The rogue faction had been defeated, but the memory of the attack remained fresh in everyone's mind. Ryan walked beside Ara through one of the wide corridors, carrying a stack of reports. He felt lighter than he had in days. The battle, the danger, and the confessions were behind them, and yet a sense of anticipation filled the air. They had survived, and their bond had grown stronger because of it. You've done well, Ara said, her voice calm but warm. The Council has accepted your recommendations for improved security. Ryan shrugged modestly. I just followed your orders. You were the one leading everyone. I was just helping. She glanced at him, her glowing eyes softening. Helping is more than following orders. You made choices that saved lives. That is not a small thing. They passed a garden area filled with glowing plants and small streams of water floating through transparent tubes. Aira paused and looked at the display of alien flora. "This place reminds me of peace," she said quietly. "After all the chaos, it is good to see life continuing." Ryan smiled. "Earth has places like this too. They are quiet and safe, a reminder of why we fight for our worlds." She nodded thoughtfully. "You have taught me about your people, Ryan. Your perspective is different. Honest, and sometimes surprising." He laughed softly. "I think we learn from each other. That is the best part of working together." Their conversation was interrupted by a message from the council. They requested both Aira and Ryan to speak at a gathering of ambassadors. The purpose was to celebrate unity among species and acknowledge those who had helped defend the station. As they entered the chamber, representatives from dozens of worlds turned to look at them. Murmurs filled the hall. Many still remembered the first battle and the human who had acted courageously alongside of Yuri. The elder Yuri rose and addressed the assembly. "Today, we honor those who faced danger with courage. Among them is a human who proved that even the youngest members of our alliance can show wisdom and bravery beyond expectation." Ryan felt his heart race. He had never imagined receiving such recognition in front of so many powerful beings. Aira stepped forward. "This station's survival was not due to one person alone. Every species contributed. But there is someone whose honesty and courage have taught me a great deal about humanity. Ryan, you have my gratitude and my respect." Ryan's cheeks warmed as hundreds of eyes turned toward him. He met Aira's gaze and saw a faint, proud smile. He understood that what she felt for him was genuine and not just respect born of duty. After the ceremony, they found a quiet balcony overlooking the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, a canvas of light and possibility. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" Ryan asked softly. "Always," Aira replied. "But the future is not something to fear. It is something to shape together." Ryan nodded, feeling a surge of hope. "Then we will face it together. Whatever challenges come, we will not be alone." Aira placed her hand gently over his. The warmth of her touch reminded him of the countless moments they had shared, moments of fear, of courage, and of understanding. "You have changed how I see the galaxy," she said. "Not because of your words alone, but because of your heart. That is something rare among all species." Ryan smiled, his chest swelling with pride and happiness. "And you have changed how I see myself. You taught me that even a human can make a difference." They stood side by side, looking out at the stars. Ships glided past, lights shining like tiny jewels. The station hummed quietly beneath them, a testament to life, unity, and survival. For the first time in his life, Ryan felt completely certain of his place not just on the station, but in the galaxy. And by his side, Aira's presence reminded him that courage, friendship, and care could bridge even the widest gaps between worlds. The galaxy stretched before them, full of unknown dangers and endless possibilities. Together, Ryan and Aira were ready to face whatever came next. And as the stars sparkled against the darkness, they knew that this was not the end of their story. It was a new beginning. A beginning where humans and Viuri, united by trust and courage, could shape the future of the Alliance. The two of them stood quietly, hands joined, hearts steady, and spirits intertwined, ready to meet whatever challenges awaited them in the vast, shining universe.